Hello, welcome to Elizabeth Reads. We have A Boy Called Hope, which is another one of the wonderful Usborne books by Laura Williamson. We are on chapter 2. From Dan Hope, sent November 22nd, 0754 to Malcolm Maynard. Subject, hello. Hi, Dad. When I first saw you on telly, I was more surprised than when Charles Scallybones I, the dog Mum bought me when you left, threw up in my school trainers and I put my feet in them. I thought, there's my dad, and he's famous. As you can see, I'm so excited it deserves caps. I've tried to imagine what it will be like when you reply to this email, but I can't. So, if you'll reply, then I won't have to. By the way, Grace is still alive. She has this new boyfriend called Stan, but enough of her. Back to me. I am 11 now, I can play the guitar, and I'm an expert on a skateboard and the mysteries of Sherlock Holmes. Bet you'd forgotten that you left 2 books on our bookshelf. One was about getting to the bottom of piles, and the other was a book about Sherlock Holmes and how he solved all these mysteries. Well, guess what? I tried to read the one on piles, but there were too many strange illustrations, so I read the one on Sherlock Holmes instead. Twice. I've also redecorated my bedroom since you last saw it. My bed looks like it has been dumped in a galaxy. Imagine lots of glow-in-the-dark stars tacked to the ceiling, and you'd be right. And I've got a hanging planet mobile that Big Dave, Mum's friend, bought me. Grace isn't all that impressed with it. She says no one wants to look up at Uranus. And Mum moans about the mess on the bedroom floor and says my room's a black hole. I looked up black holes, and they're a region in space where nothing can escape, not even light. There are different black hole classifications. A supermassive black hole is 10 to the 5th minus 10 to the 10th m sun. An intermediate black hole is 10 to the 3rd m sun. A stellar black hole is 10 to the m sun, and a micro black hole is up to m to the moon. When I told Mum about this, she said the black hole in my bedroom is supermassive. I've never been described as supermassive before. I could get used to this. That's all my news. Could you send me an email telling me what you've been up to? It would be nice if we could be pen pals. Do you think we could meet up soon? You don't have to come to 10 Paradise Parade. I could come to your palace instead. That would be even better than the supermassive black hole. Please reply to my email address as soon as possible. I got yours from the TV website. Clever, aren't I? Mum says I take after her, although I'm not sure this is strictly true. Love, Dan. As I walk down Paradise Parade towards school, I feel different. I probably look different. It's as though I'm surrounded by a mist of golden ectoplasm, one that says Dan Hope is the happiest boy in the universe because he has contacted his dad. I even wave and shout hello to Mrs. Nunku as she nudges Samson into the garden. He cocks his leg and releases a golden arch onto her slippers. Mrs. Nunku waves back but looks mildly surprised. I'd like to think this is because she spotted my magical glow, but I think it's because her feet are steaming. Turning into Agapanthus Road, I allow myself a little smile. In my mind, I can see Dad opening his emails. His mouth makes an O of surprise when he realizes that his long-lost son has got in touch. Perhaps he's so happy he's wiping away a tiny teardrop. No, that's too much. But Dad can't wait to send me an email back. That message will say that he's sorry for walking out and not being part of my life. The email will be waiting for me when I get home from school. It isn't. The ectoplasm might have lost a bit of its glow, but I'm not going to let myself feel too sad. After all, Dad's a busy man now. He's on TV. He's probably signing autographs and attending village fetes and turning up to the opening of an envelope. That's what Mum says celebrities do these days. I bet I'll hear from him later this evening, or even tomorrow morning before I go to school. I don't. The following day when I walk towards school, the golden ectoplasm has been replaced by a stodgy black cloud. Mrs. Nunku is bringing in the milk and shouts, hello, and I mumble back as though I have a mouthful of scrambled eggs. My eyes don't move from the pavement as I turn into Agapanthus Road. It seems my cunning plan hasn't gone according to plan. Why hasn't Dad answered yet? The question is on a merry-go-round inside my head. Last night, when Mum was doing the evening shift at Aladdin's supermarket and Grace was at Stan's, I switched on the TV and Dad popped up. I watched him for any signs that he'd read my email. I wasn't expecting him to be wearing a big badge, but I was hoping I'd see something. Perhaps there'd be a twitch, or a tugging of his earlobe, a secret message between father and son. There was nothing. Dad looked completely calm. In fact, I'd almost say Dad hadn't given me any thought at all, and I was so annoyed that I didn't bother having a conversation with him because I knew I'd end up arguing with myself. "What's up with you?" asked Joe, in between drinking from the water fountain in the school playground. "You've been in a mood all morning, and you didn't even smile when Mrs. Parfit asked you to give out all the art stuff." "I've got a headache," I reply in a flat voice. I lean against the wall and watch as Joe wipes a dribble of water from her chin. A headache? Never before has someone looked so happy that their friend has a headache as Joe does at this moment. "That's great news," she says. Her hands spring forward and she clasps my shoulders as she insists she can sort it out. "I've got this bit of fabric that touches the head of that touched the head of a person who touched the head of a person who touched the head of..." Yeah, get on with it. Saint Teresa of Avila knew all about headaches. "If I touch your head with it, your headache will disappear," says Joe. "And if your headache has given you sore eyes, I've got a bit of fabric that touches the grave of a person who touched the grave of a person who touched the grave of St. Augustine of Hippo, patron saint of sore eyes." Then again, St. Augustine was also the patron saint of brewers, so I'm not sure how useful he'll be. Anyway, come over to mine after school for a healing session. There is no headache other than the headache Joe is beginning to give me. And I'm pretty sure that a piece of fabric that's touched a hippo can't help me with what's really wrong, which is my lack of contact from Dad. "Yes, okay, if I must," I say slowly, "but I'm only coming if you don't put holy water in my orange squash." "I haven't got any. Dad blocked the toilet yesterday, and he grabbed the bottle of holy water and used it as a container for the soggy toilet roll taken from the bowl." I was not very happy. "I bet you weren't." I lift my body off the wall. It wasn't so much about losing the holy water as the fact that he didn't ask me first. If he had, I would have directed him to pray to St. Jude Thaddeus, because once Dad has blocked the toilet, he needs help from the patron saint of desperate cases. Mum texts me back to say she doesn't mind me going to Joe's, which is just as well because we're already in Joe's bedroom and Joe was pressing a plastic card with a scrap of fabric inside onto my forehead. It feels cool against my skin, but other than that, I can't say it has made me feel any better. To make Joe happy, I stare at her wall poster of St. Aloysius Gonzaga with his eyes raised to heaven. Then I roll my eyeballs back before snapping them forward again as if I'm healed. My acting skills aren't all that because Joe isn't convinced. "I don't think this is about a headache at all," says Joe, setting the card on her bedside table. "There's something else you're not telling me. By the way, friends don't keep secrets from one another." "Which saint told you that?" "My mother, but she's not exactly a saint." Joe folds her arms and blocks my view of St. Aloysius Gonzaga. "You should tell me your problems." I open my school bag and make this huge deal of pulling out a book and then pretending to read it. "I don't have any problems." I don't look at Joe because I'm so busy reading this absolutely fascinating textbook about the life cycle of a maggot. "Your book is upside down," replies Joe, placing her hands on her hips. By the time I've righted it, she's reached into her bedside table drawer and is holding her hand aloft in a fist. "This is for you. Borrow it for a while. Give it back to me when you've got all the answers and you're healed. And you can't refuse. It's rude to say no to a present." Joe thrusts her hand open and holds it below my nostrils. There, in the center of her palm, is a silver medal about the size of a 10-pence piece. That's if you squashed it with a steamroller and made it oblong and therefore nothing like a 10-pence piece at all. On one side, I can see an engraving of a saint who I don't recognize, although, to be honest, I don't recognize any of them. Cross-eyed, I stare at it. "How many times do I have to tell you my head is fine?" "Yes, and I heard you. This isn't for your head," Joe admits. "Let me introduce you to St. Gabriel of Our Lady of Sorrows. This medal is how I got interested in relics in the first place. It was given to me by the grandma I lost playing bingo. Just after she heard the words, 'Lucky 7, God's in heaven,' she shouted, 'House!' and keeled over. They tucked her bingo card in her coffin, and Dad said she went to heaven smiling. Dad was smiling too, because he inherited her winnings. I only managed to squeak that if it isn't a medal for illness, what is it for? It's for someone who needs healing. It's for someone who is carrying a secret sorrow and they need a dream to come true. It's for someone like you."